The sky never lies to us. It never has, and it never will. It stands there in all its reality and nakedness, exposed and unapologetic for everyone to see. The sky is like a book written in a heavy language, but to read it, you need a completely different kind of literacy. This book has no script, but it does have a language, and the civilizations that spoke this language were the ones that endured longest on the stage of history. Yes, the sky does not lie. The ancient civilizations knew this, all of them knew it, or at least they believed they knew it, because the sky was the same for everyone, but everyone saw something different. At the very least, the priests of Babylon believed the sky never lied to them. Every night, atop a ziggurat rising from mud brick, a man sat embedded in darkness, silently watching the heavens. Beside him lay a flat clay tablet, in his hand a pointed stylus. He recorded every detail, the positions of stars, the migration paths of planets, the shape of the moon, one by one, line by line, in cold nights and in hot ones, before storms and after them. For 1,000 years, the watchers took turns, but the duty never changed. This man was not alone. On the same night, in the same city, other observers on other ziggurats were doing the exact same work. They compared results, filtered out inconsistencies, cross-checked their data. The foundational principle of modern science, reproducibility, was being born on those rooftops 3,000 years ago. This was not a hobby. It was not idle curiosity. This was a state duty, a sacred responsibility. Much like an intelligence analyst today examining satellite imagery, the priests of Babylon used the sky as a source of strategic intelligence. Because according to those priests, the gods did not speak to humans directly, they wrote. And the place where they wrote was that boundless dark page above their heads, the sky. That page filled with a new line every night, but the eyes capable of reading it were scarce. Everyone looked up at the sky, but very few could truly see it. And those who could see were afraid to speak, because the sky's messages were sometimes things that kings did not want to hear. But one group of people made this their profession. They turned reading the sky, despite everything, into the very meaning of their lives. They were called Baru. The word meant seer, but these were no ordinary observers. The Baru priests were official state functionaries tasked with reading the language of the sky. The most critical decisions of the royal court depended on their reports. Should war be declared? Will the harvest be abundant? Should the heir be crowned, or should they wait? The king did not answer these questions. The sky did, and the Baru translated that answer. Their training took decades to complete. A Baru candidate had to memorize star catalogs, planetary cycles, and omen lists. The Enuma Anu Enlil, a massive divination encyclopedia consisting of 70 tablets, formed the backbone of their education. Each tablet contained hundreds of propositions in if-then format. If Mars appears in the east, the enemy will attack. If the moon turns red, the king is in danger. The Baru had to memorize all these propositions. He did not read the sky by improvisation, but by consulting a systematic database. It was a professional tradition passed down from father to son. The most talented Baru rose to become the king's personal advisor, standing at his side in the most critical moments. But the cost of error was severe. A mistaken prophecy could mean the end of a priest's life. To misread the sky was considered a betrayal of the god's will itself. Not a single night was left unrecorded. This was not a sporadic effort, but a relentless institutional commitment spanning generations. For hundreds of years, celestial events were inscribed onto wet clay tablets and placed in temple archives. This vast collection is known as the Astronomical Diaries, humanity's first known systematic scientific observation archive. Each night's data was meticulously recorded: which star rose at which hour, which planet passed near which constellation, when the moon darkened, what the clouds did, from which direction the wind blew. Even market prices were recorded: the value of barley and dates, the water level of the river, outbreaks of disease. They noted everything, in search of correlations between the sky and the earth below. Not just one night, hundreds of nights, thousands of nights. A civilization read the sky by keeping a diary. And the scale of these records is staggering. Continuous data running from the 7th century BCE to the 1st century CE. 700 years of regular, systematic observation. No other recording system in world history even comes close. This was no ordinary record-keeping habit. Babylon was the first civilization to succeed in building a cosmic religious structure grounded in science. Its priests were simultaneously scientists, clergy, and political advisors. Observation, worship, and strategy were a single act. They read the will of the gods in the order of the sky, and they believed this will had a language, a grammar, a logic. Today, we separate science from religion, religion from politics. In Babylon, these were an inseparable whole. A priest's nighttime observation, the strategy report he presented to the king in the morning, and the prayer he offered at the temple in the evening, all were different faces of the same activity. Each planet was the physical body of a god. Marduk, Babylon's chief deity, was Jupiter. The war god Nergal was Mars. Ishtar, goddess of love and war, was Venus. Nabu, god of writing and wisdom, was Mercury. As the planets moved, the gods changed positions, and a change in position meant a message. When two planets drew near each other, two gods were meeting. This meant either alliance or conflict. When a planet entered a constellation, the fate of that region was altered. The sky was not a static backdrop. It was a living, constantly moving, meaning-generating map. But the sky did not always bring good news. One night, a Baru priest makes a note on his tablet. A lunar eclipse is expected on the 14th day. This could mean a harvest disaster, or a threat to the king's life. The sky has spoken, and what it said is not at all good. What are they going to do? This is where humanity's oldest and most peculiar reflex kicked in, negotiating with fate. The Namburbi came into play. Namburbi literally meant undoing, untying the knot of a bad omen, canceling its effect. The ritual was elaborate and complex. Burning candles were set adrift on the river. Protective incantations were recited. Small figurines representing evil were created and cast into fire. Curses were transferred onto garments, which were then burned. In some Namburbi rituals, 7 gates were opened, with a different purification process performed at each one. Even the materials used carried cosmic significance: cedarwood, salt, incense, each connected to a different divine power. And in the most striking application of all, the king was temporarily removed from his throne. An ordinary man was seated in his place and given a false crown so that the prophecy would befall the substitute king instead. For 100 days, this substitute king sat in the real king's place, while the real king stayed hidden in a secret location. Then, the substitute king was quietly disposed of, and the real king returned to his throne. A human life was sacrificed as the price of a shadow in the sky. Think about this for a moment. They took the fate written by the gods in the sky with absolute seriousness, yet at the same time, they bargained with it. They were, in a sense, hacking the very system they believed in. They respected the sky, but refused to surrender to it. Today, when someone walks out of a hospital and says, "I got the diagnosis, but I will fight," this reflex cannot be named, but its roots may stretch all the way back to that ziggurat 3,000 years ago. This dual stance, believing and resisting at once, is perhaps the oldest and most honest form of humanity's relationship with fate. Perhaps what a person today feels when saying, "I believe in my fate, but I will fight anyway," is exactly what that Baru priest felt 3,000 years ago. Humans have not changed. The sky has not changed. The tension between them has not changed either. And their legacy did not end there. The Babylonian priests divided the path the sun traces across the sky in one year, the ecliptic, into 12 equal segments.
they gave each segment the name of a constellation: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, the 12 signs. The daily horoscope readings that billions of people around the world check on their phones every morning trace their origin back to those clay tablets from 3,000 years ago. If a Babylonian priest heard people in a modern coffee shop asking each other's zodiac sign, he would feel something familiar because the system was built by his ancestors. When Venus rose as the morning star, victory in battle was prophesied. A lunar eclipse on the 14th day was a disaster signal for fields and barns. If Jupiter shone bright, the king was strong. If Mars turned red, war was at the gate. The sky was like a newspaper. A new page was printed every night, and the man who could read it was the most powerful man in the land.
Let us pause here for a moment. Every morning when you open your phone and check your horoscope, you are living the digital continuation of a tradition started by Babylon's Baru priests. The algorithm has changed, the platform has changed, but the fundamental reflex is the same. Look to the sky, find meaning in your life. 3,000 years is a very long time, but some habits are beyond time's reach. But when the Parthian armies invaded Mesopotamia in the 2nd century BCE, Babylon's light slowly dimmed. Temples emptied, priests scattered, tablets were buried in the earth. The last known cuneiform astronomy tablet dates to 8 BCE. Then, silence. But Babylon's knowledge did not disappear. It merely relocated. It spread to Syria, Egypt, India, and the West. The fire went out, but its embers continued to burn in distant lands. And some of those embers would produce unexpected flames. While Babylon's cuneiform tablets slept beneath the soil, its ideas had already crossed borders. The Persian Empire carried this knowledge eastward. Alexander the Great's conquests carried it west. On the shelves of the Library of Alexandria, Babylonian astronomy sat side by side with Greek philosophy. A civilization can die, but if its ideas are powerful enough, it rises from its own grave. Ideas are harder to bury than clay. On the banks of the Nile, another civilization had cracked a language of the night, but through an entirely different method. The Egyptians were the first people to succeed in counting the night. They did this using 36 star groups. While Babylon read the night sky as a message, Egypt used it as a clock. Each group, they called them decans, corresponded to a star cluster that rose above the horizon at a different hour of the night. For 10 days, the same decan rose at the same time, then yielded its place to the next one. 36 decans, 36 10-day periods, 360 days. For the remaining 5 days, they had separate calculations. Sacred festivals were aligned with those days. The numbers were simple, but the resulting system was incredibly sophisticated, a complete cosmic calendar. But the decans were not merely a timekeeping mechanism. Each decan was connected to a power, an energy, a personality. Whichever decan was dominant in the sky at the moment of your birth determined your character, your health, your vulnerabilities, and even the manner of your death. Some decans brought healing, others brought disease. Some governed courage, others governed fear. Even medicine was under the sky's command. The time to apply treatment, the hour to prepare medicine, even the day of surgery, all were determined by consulting the stars. 1,000 years later, Europe's medieval doctors would do the exact same thing, choosing the day for bloodletting according to the Zodiac calendar. This was one of the earliest known forms of individual birth astrology. Babylon had read the fate of the state in the sky. Egypt was beginning to read the fate of the individual. The idea that the moment of your birth is the rough draft of your destiny was born right here. If you look at the ceilings of pharaohs' tombs, you will find star maps there. Decans lined up in sequence, the hours of the night marked with stars. The dead king carried a map of the sky with him because that was where he was going. The star map was a navigational tool, a GPS for the journey after death. The priests prepared these maps with meticulous attention to every detail. A wrong star could send the king to the wrong destination. It showed his final stop. For the Egyptians, the sky was not merely a calendar or a divination tool. The sky was the destination itself.
And among all the stars, there was one that was the very heartbeat of Egypt, Sirius. The Egyptians called it Sopdet. Every year, after disappearing below the horizon for approximately 70 days, this brilliant star became visible again at dawn in early July. This is called the heliacal rising, and the Nile would begin to flood. The flood had arrived. The soil would be fertile, planting season was approaching, Egypt would survive another year. Think about it. One of the greatest civilizations in history had tied its survival to a single star. Every year, the same anxiety, the same anticipation, the same relief. The rising of Sirius was the first day of the new year. A single star determined a civilization's calendar, agriculture, and survival. If Sirius was late, famine was at the door. If Sirius arrived on time, abundance had come. But Sirius's calendar held yet another secret. The solar year is 365.25 days, and the Sirius cycle lasted exactly 365.25 days, an almost perfect overlap. The Egyptians noticed this and considered this synchronization sacred. A civilization touched by a star lived in that star's rhythm. And when they went deeper, the sky became immortality itself. The pyramid texts stated plainly, "The king shall rise to the sky and take his place among the imperishable stars." The narrow shafts of the Great Pyramids at Giza facing northward were aligned precisely with the pole stars, stars that never descend below the horizon, remaining in the sky every moment of the night. Because those stars did not die. The Egyptians called them Ichemu Sik, the imperishable ones, the ones that never set. And the pharaoh would not set either. Death was not an ending, it was a relocation to the sky. And the pyramids were the launch ramps for that relocation. Over time, Egypt's relationship to the sky took on a much more mysterious dimension. When the Greeks came to Egypt, they encountered a god named Thoth there, the god of wisdom, writing, magic, calculation, and the moon. Depicted with an ibis fan or in the form of a baboon, the Greeks merged this figure with their own god, Hermes. And a strange entity emerged. Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great Hermes. Neither fully a god nor fully a human. According to legend, a mysterious teacher who imparted secret cosmic knowledge to humanity. This hybrid figure, born from the merging of two cultures, became one of the most enigmatic names of the Mediterranean world. A series of writings attributed to this name appeared, the Hermetic texts. They are dated to between approximately 50 BCE and 150 CE. Within them, astrology, philosophy, and theology are so intertwined that it is impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins. An apocalyptic literature, texts that both explain the cosmic order and reveal the future. Science, religion, philosophy, and magic, all melted in the same crucible. But the essence of all of them is hidden in a single sentence. In a short, dense, almost coded text called the Emerald Tablet, it is written, "As above, so below." It appears simple, but the idea behind it is enormous. The order in the sky is a mirror of the order on Earth. What the planets are, so are the organs of the human body. What the stars are, so are the metals. The sun is linked to gold, the moon to silver, Mars to iron. Jupiter represents tin, Venus copper, Saturn lead. The universe is a whole, and every small part is a miniature copy of the whole. The human body is a small cosmos. The cosmos is a great body. Your heart is the sun, your brain is the moon, your blood is a river. This principle would later become the foundation stone of alchemy, medical astrology, and all the occult sciences of the Renaissance. 1,000 years later, when Europe's alchemists tried to turn lead into gold, they were chasing an idea born on the banks of the Nile. And this idea never fully died. Even today, the macrocosm-microcosm principle continues to live in philosophical discussions. Isaac Newton read the Hermetic texts and was deeply influenced by them. He conducted alchemical experiments, searched for hidden knowledge. The man considered the father of modern physics stood with one foot in the world of science and the other in the world of ancient mysteries. When Marsilio Ficino translated these texts into Latin during the Renaissance, he caused an intellectual earthquake across Europe. These texts were believed to be older than Moses, older even than Plato, the oldest voice from a divine source to have reached humankind. It was later understood that this chronology was wrong, but by then its impact had long since been made. But the real storm would break when these ideas crossed the Mediterranean and reached Greece, because the Greeks, looking at the sky, did neither what Babylon had done nor what Egypt had done. They asked questions, and their questions turned out to be more important than the answers. When Plato looked at the sky, he saw gods there, but these were not the terrifying, punishing, bargainable gods of Babylon. In the Timaeus dialogue, stars are described as visible gods, perfect, flawless, luminous beings whose eternal movements demonstrated the rational order of the universe. The orbits of planets were not chaotic. On the contrary, they revolved with mathematical harmony in measured rhythm. And this harmony could not be an accident. It was proof that the universe itself was intelligent, the work of a rational mind. Here, God was not a portrait, he was a formula. The sky was not a temple, it was a proof. Plato went one step further. The human soul originally belonged to a star. The creative force, the demiurge, had shaped souls in the stars and sent them down into bodies. This idea is the philosophical ancestor of Christianity's concept of the fallen human. The soul has come from a high place, it is being tested in this world, and its purpose is to return. Plato's star would eventually become Christianity's heaven. Now the soul was on trial. A soul that lived a just, virtuous, and wise life would, after death, return to its home star, to eternal peace. But a soul that strayed from justice and virtue would descend to a lower form in the next life, perhaps to an animal. Stars were not only in the sky, they were humanity's origin, humanity's address. The sky was both homeland and exile, where you came from and where you would return, met in the same place.
And then the prophetess of Troy, Cassandra, comes to mind. According to legend, Apollo gave her the power to see the future, but added the curse that no one would ever believe her. Cassandra saw that Troy would fall. She said so, and every single time she was right, but no one listened. The people thought she was mad. The king silenced her. The soldiers shrugged, and Troy burned, just as Cassandra had said. Perhaps the most cruel form of fate is this: to see but not to change, to know but not to be heard. In a sense, Cassandra was the walking symbol of astrology's fundamental paradox. Does knowing fate save you, or does it condemn you? This was not merely a mythological question. It is a question that still sits at the center of cancer screening tests, genetic analyses, and artificial intelligence predictions today. Would you want to learn what lies ahead, if the answer is something you cannot change? Cassandra's curse wanders through hospital corridors even now. Aristotle veered in a different direction from his teacher Plato. For him, the perfection of the sky was not a poetic idea, but a physical reality. On Earth, everything was composed of 4 elements: earth, water, air, fire. And these elements were in constant flux: birth, growth, decay, destruction. A leaf sprouts and withers, a mountain erodes to dust. But when he looked at the sky, he could see no change at all. Everything beyond the moon traced perfect, smooth, predictable circles. This could only be explained by its being made of a different substance.
Aether, the fifth element, a material unlike any of the four terrestrial elements, unchanging, incorruptible, eternally constant. The word aether meant ever-flowing, a substance in constant motion, yet never changing. The sky was made of this material, and that is why it was indestructible. This idea split Aristotle's model of the universe in two. The world below the moon, the sublunary, was chaotic, impure, temporary, doomed to die. The world above the moon, the supralunary, was a realm of crystal clarity, operating in flawless cycles, eternal. And this boundary, the moon's orbit, separated the sacred from the profane, the permanent from the temporary. This distinction was not a trivial detail. It shaped the understanding of the universe throughout the Middle Ages, in both the Christian and Islamic worlds. The sky was sacred, the earth was fallen. Thomas Aquinas blended Aristotle's cosmology with Christian theology, and the perfection of the sky became proof of God's existence. Ibn Rushd drank from the same source and shaped the philosophy of the Islamic world. A few sentences uttered by a Greek philosopher while gazing at the sky determined how two great religions understood the universe for 1,000 years. When Galileo saw craters on the moon's surface through his telescope, what he had to bring down was not merely an astronomical model, it was a theology, a philosophy, and a worldview. For 1,000 years, this doctrine had gone virtually unquestioned. And during these times, someone said something perhaps far ahead of his age. An astronomer from the city of Seleucia, Seleucus, claimed that our Earth revolves around the sun, both on its own axis and around the sun. He explained tidal phenomena through the moon's gravitational pull. This was 1,700 years before Copernicus, and Copernicus probably never even heard the name Seleucus. History sometimes works like this. If the right answer comes too early, no one is listening. Perhaps science is not just about asking questions, but about asking them at the right time. Among the philosophers, there was an all-out war over the sky and fate, and compromise between the factions was nearly impossible. The brightest minds of the ancient world looked at the same sky and arrived at diametrically opposite conclusions, and each side's arguments were extraordinarily powerful.
The Stoics said fate exists, and they argued this with a terrifying certainty. According to them, every particle of the universe was governed by a single intelligence, the Logos. Universal order, cosmic reason, everything was connected. There was a real physical bond between the movement of a star and the life of a human being. They called this cosmic sympathy. Chrysippus, the third leader of the Stoic school, explained it using a potter's wheel. The hand that turns the wheel determines the shape of every piece. The universe was the same. A single motion shaped everything. The position of a planet directly influenced events on Earth. There was no such thing as coincidence. Chance itself was an illusion. Every event was an inevitable part of the cosmic plan. According to this line of thinking, even the fact that you are reading this sentence right now was predetermined since the very beginning of the universe. And the Stoic sage's task was not to wage war against fate. It was to accept it, even to love it. Amor fati, love of fate. Whatever happens to you, say, this is for me. This is exactly what the universe asks of you. Resistance increases suffering. Acceptance brings peace. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, reminded himself of this even on the battlefield, on his throne, in his tent, in his illness. If fate exists, resistance is pointless. Even if fate does not exist, not resisting brings peace. The Epicureans said the exact opposite. Epicurus's universe consisted of atoms and void, nothing more. Gods existed, but they were remote, indifferent, living happily in their own paradises, completely unaware of humans. Stars carried neither messages nor prophecy. They were balls of fire, chunks of rock. Astrology was utter nonsense. The universe owed you nothing, promised you nothing, and watched you not at all. Humans were free.
And the thing that guaranteed this freedom was that tiny irregularity among the atoms, the clinamen, a random swerve, an unpredictable deviation. That single broken link in determinism's perfect chain upended all of fate. This was the ancient world's most radical manifesto of freedom. Escape from fate is possible, because fate itself does not exist. There is randomness in the universe, and if there is randomness, there is freedom. The Roman poet Lucretius immortalized these ideas in his epic poem De Rerum Natura, on the nature of things. This text, believed lost for 1,000 years, was rediscovered in a monastery library in 1417. And that discovery became one of the intellectual sparks of the Renaissance. An Epicurean poem, awakening from its 1,000-year slumber, changed the world. The skeptics said neither yes nor no. In the 2nd century CE, Sextus Empiricus mounted the most systematic assault on astrology ever undertaken. His core argument was simple but devastating. If twins born at the same time in the same place under the same sky go on to live completely different lives, one rich and one poor, one long-lived and one short, one happy and one miserable, then the claim that the moment of birth determines fate collapses entirely. The twin paradox. A simple observation, but it shook the entire astrological system to its foundations. 2,000 years have passed, and no satisfying answer to this argument has ever been given. Modern statistical studies support Sextus as well. When the life paths of thousands of people born on the same day at the same hour are examined, no meaningful similarity is found among those who share the same zodiac sign. But even people who know these studies continue to read their horoscopes, because there is a chasm between knowing and feeling, and statistics cannot bridge that chasm.
The most elegant answer to the debate came from Plotinus. This ascetic, deeply contemplative philosopher of the 3rd century found a middle path. Stars can read, but they cannot write. The sky is like a book. It shows the future, but it does not create the future. It is a sign, not a cause. A thermometer shows a fever, but the thermometer is not the cause of the fever. This solution both honored astrology and drew a line around it. You may look at the stars, but do not blame them. This distinction between the indicator of fate and the cause of fate was an incredibly sophisticated thought for 2,000 years ago. And this thought remains functional even today. In modern medicine, when we explain the difference between genetic predisposition and actual disease, we use the same logic. DNA gives you a tendency, not a certainty. Plotinus said this about stars. Modern science says it about genes. The distance between them is 2,000 years, but the idea is the same. But while the philosophers debated on, the emperors of Rome had already made their own decisions. Augustus had his birth chart stamped onto silver coins. The symbol of the sign of Capricorn spread to every corner of the empire. The message was clear: I am not an accident. The stars placed me on this throne. The moment an emperor derived his legitimacy not from the gods, but from the stars, the language of power itself had changed. This strategy proved so effective that after Augustus, nearly every Roman emperor used his own birth chart as a propaganda tool. Astrology was no longer just about fate, it was about branding. Tiberius chose a much darker path. He withdrew from Rome, retreated to the island of Capri, and took only one man with him, Thrasyllus, a Greek astrologer. The story goes that Tiberius would test his star advisors at the edge of a cliff. Look at my birth chart and tell me my fate. If they were wrong, they went over the rocks. Thrasyllus was the only man to pass this test. Legend says he even saw his own death threat in his chart, and that is why Tiberius believed him. And from then on, Thrasyllus became the only whisper in Tiberius's ear. An entire empire's strategic decisions rested on an astrologer's planetary calculations. War, peace, assassination, alliance, all were referred to the stars. Rome's fate passed through the language of the sky.
Nero believed the stars had condemned him. He spent his final months in panic, fleeing from palace to palace. His astrologers were abandoning him one by one. No one could bear bringing him good news anymore. The stars had spoken, and what they said meant death. But even Nero searched for escape until his very last breath. He clung to prophecies saying he would find a new homeland, that he would be reborn in Egypt. His last words are famous: "What an artist dies in me." He saw even his own death as a performance. This reflex was not so different from Babylon's Nambarubi ritual: believe in fate, but do not surrender. Fate may be written, but something inside a human being never stops trying to erase that writing. During this era, Claudius Ptolemaeus of Alexandria, Ptolemy, was transforming astrology from a scattered belief into a systematic framework. This 4-volume work would become the astrology textbook for the next 1,000 years, translated into Arabic, Latin, and Hebrew, taught at medieval universities. Each planet had qualities of hot, cold, dry, wet. These qualities produced measurable effects on the human body and character. But Ptolemy placed a careful caveat. The stars give inclination, he said, not certainty. This subtle distinction, not fate but tendency, remains the favorite argument of astrology's defenders even 2,000 years later. Ptolemy also systematized geographical astrology, assigning different regions of the world to different zodiac signs and planets, attempting to explain the character of societies through the sky. He was undoubtedly wrong, and his system even produced harmful prejudices, but it was incredibly consistent, internally logical, and for that reason extremely difficult to refute.
Julia Domna and the Severan dynasty ruled Rome in the late 2nd century CE, a half-Syrian court. They brought the cults, rituals, and sun worship of the East into the heart of Rome. And the young emperor Heliogabalus, at the age of 14, ascended to the throne as a priest of the Syrian sun god Elagabalus. He intended to declare the black stone brought from Palmyra as Rome's supreme deity, but he failed and was killed. When the sky interferes with politics, politics interferes with the sky, and the result is always bloody. Even today, political leaders use carefully chosen cosmic metaphors when speaking of destiny. Dawn is breaking, a new era is being born, the end of darkness approaches. All are remnants from the language of the sky. Power continues to speak the language of the heavens because that language works. Aurelian succeeded where others had failed. In 274 CE, he declared the cult of the unconquered sun, Sol Invictus, the official state religion, and the birthday of the sun was December 25th. That date should sound familiar to you. When Christianity spread, this date was chosen as the birthday of Jesus. The rebirth of the sun became the birth of the Son of God. An astrological festival evolved into a theological one. The sky's influence had penetrated so deeply that it was impossible to remove. All you could do was dress it in a new meaning. And look at the calendar. Monday, the moon's day. Saturday, Saturn's day. Sunday is the sun's day. Monday, the moon's. Saturday, Saturn's. Every day bears the name of a planetary god. Every morning when we turn the calendar page, we are, without even realizing it, stepping into a 3,000-year-old astrological tradition. The sky speaks to us through the most mundane things we just forgot how to notice. The ancient sky beliefs did not die, they wove themselves into the fabric of our daily lives. There are nurses in hospital emergency rooms who expect more patients on full moon nights. There are people who say, "My stars are bad." We call a successful person star bright. Language itself carries the traces of the sky, because the civilizations that invented these concepts bequeathed us not only words, but ways of thinking. But the world was not just the Mediterranean. A very different understanding of the sky was taking shape in the East, and these understandings were fundamentally different from the West's, because the sky of the East focused not on individual fate, but on collective destiny, social morality,
and cosmic balance. In India, reading the sky was not a science, it was a sacred duty. Jyotish, Vedic astrology, was one of the 6 most respected auxiliary sciences of the Hindu tradition. It was considered as ancient as the Vedas themselves and was an inseparable part of the religion. The Navagraha, 9 planets, formed the foundation of Indian astrology. The Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, and 2 shadowy planetary nodes, Rahu and Ketu. These last 2 did not exist in Western astrology. They were the points where the moon's orbit intersected the sun's path, invisible planets, yet their effects were considered extraordinarily powerful. Rahu represented ambition and desire, while Ketu represented detachment and spiritual seeking. A ritual performed at the correct time was valid, one performed at the wrong time was futile. A child's name, a wedding date, when the first stone of a temple would be laid, all were determined by consulting the stars. Jyotish meant the science of light, and this light was a guide meant to illuminate every corner of life. Even today, millions of people in India consult Jyotish when making marriage decisions. This is a 3,000-year-old tradition, and it is still alive. But Indian thought's true contribution to the sky was in how it understood fate. The concept of karma was fundamentally different from Babylonian fate.
In Babylon, fate was written in the sky once. It covered a single lifetime and was nearly impossible to change. You could tinker with it through rituals like Namborbi, but fundamentally what was written was written. In India, however, karma was the accumulation of many lifetimes. The suffering you endured in this life was the consequence of actions in a previous one. The good deeds you performed in this life were the seeds of your next one. And most importantly, karma was not a frozen sentence. Through right actions, right intentions, and right knowledge, you could redirect the flow and reach an entirely different position in the next life. Fate was not a punishment, it was a dialogue. The sky dealt you a hand, but you decided how to play it. If a king accumulated bad karma, he could become a beggar in the next life. If a beggar lived virtuously, he could be born wise in the next. No position was permanent, neither privilege nor curse. This was an enormous addition that gave fate flexibility. In Babylon, the sky wrote and humans merely read. In India, the sky wrote, but the pen was placed in the human's hand as well. And this pen was not limited to a single lifetime. You wrote across lifetimes, and every line you wrote became the ink of the next page. Astrology did not disappear in India. Instead, it deepened, layered, extended beyond time. In China, the sky did not rule over an individual's fate, but over an empire's legitimacy. Tianming, the mandate of heaven. This concept was not directly related to astrology. It was a much larger, much more political idea. If a dynasty governed justly and virtuously, heaven's approval continued. People lived in prosperity, rivers stayed in their beds, harvests brought abundance. But if the dynasty became corrupt, if oppression spread, if corruption deepened, then earthquakes, floods, famines, and plagues would begin. And these were not ordinary natural disasters, they were divine messages. Heaven was saying, this dynasty no longer holds my mandate. Then rebellion would become legitimate. Even an ordinary peasant, if heaven supported him, could sit on the throne. The Zhou dynasty used this concept to overthrow the Shang dynasty, and every subsequent change of dynasty was legitimized with the same justification. The sky here was not writing fate, it was conducting a performance review. In Babylon, the sky had been a god's letter. In Egypt, a map of immortality. In Greece, a mathematical formula. In India, a report card. In China, the sky was an auditor, and dynasties answered to its inspectors. China also had an official state astronomy bureau, the Xitianjian. This institution systematically monitored the sky, recording comets, solar eclipses, and supernova explosions.
The supernova explosion of 1054 CE, the event we know today as the Crab Nebula, was recorded in greatest detail by Chinese astronomers. But this was not driven by curiosity. The appearance of a comet was a disaster signal for the dynasty. Once again, the sky was sending messages, and reading those messages correctly meant the continuation of power. Thousands of miles to the west, in Zoroastrianism, fate carried an entirely different meaning. Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Light, and Angra Mainyu, the Spirit of Darkness, were locked in a cosmic battle. And the outcome of this battle was predetermined. Light would win. The end of the world had been written. Time itself was finite. One day everything would end and a reckoning of good and evil would be made.
But this victory would not happen on its own. Every person, every day, at every moment had to make a choice. Good thought or evil thought, good word or lie, good deed or harm. 3 pillars, humata, hukta, huvashta. Good thought, good word, good deed. The outcome of the cosmic battle was written, but your character, your side, your choice was yours to make. And alongside these choices, another legacy was left: Zoroastrian eschatology. Resurrection at the end of the world, final judgment, the absolute separation of good from evil, later became one of the cornerstones of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Heaven, hell, apocalypse, last judgment. The roots of these concepts stretch all the way back to the Avesta. Fate was like a stage. The set was ready, the curtain was raised, the ending was written, but you played your own role, and how you played it changed everything. The finale was certain, but your place in that finale was not. That was for you to choose. And then someone came along and knocked over the entire table, silently, without a fight, by asking a single question. Buddhism challenged nearly every assumption about fate, and it did so not with weapons or warfare, but with a quiet question. The Buddhist teaching rested on 3 fundamental pillars: anicca, everything changes, nothing is permanent; dukkha, life contains suffering because we cling to impermanent things; and anatta, there is no fixed self. This last principle pulled the ground out from under the feet of those who believed in fate. Think about it. Astrology is based on a fixed personality called you meeting a fixed script called fate, an identity shaped at the moment of birth, a path that follows you for life. But if there is no fixed I, if personality flows like a river, constantly changing, constantly transforming, whose fate would this be? If there is no fixed surface for fate to stick to, where will it be written? This was the most powerful philosophical blow ever dealt to the foundations of astrology. Babylon's Baru looked at the sky, the Buddha looked inward, and said that the answer being sought outside actually belonged to the wrong question. The concept of karma existed in Buddhism as well, but in a different form from the Hindu tradition. This was not a cosmic system of punishment or reward. Actions produced consequences, naturally, like a river reaching the sea. It was less a deliberate justice than the logic of a flow, and the ultimate goal, nibbana, was to step entirely outside this flow. The wheel of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, kept a person exposed to the influence of planets, to the winds of cosmic forces. But an awakened being was outside that wheel. For such a being, what the stars said no longer meant anything. The wheel continued turning, but the awakened one had stepped off. In the ancient texts that narrate the Buddha's previous lives, the Jataka stories, there are references to astrology, but they always come with the same message. The stars are part of samsara, ornaments of the world of illusion. To attach yourself to them is to add another link to the chain. The sky is beautiful, it is enchanting, it has a hypnotic order, but precisely for this reason it is dangerous, because it keeps you looking outward, keeps you watching, chains you to the cycle. What the Buddha was really asking humanity was this: what if you stopped looking at the sky for just a moment and looked at yourself instead? This paradox remains valid even today. Meditation apps and astrology apps sit side by side on the same phones. One tells you look inward,
The other says, look at the sky. People do both, because neither turning completely inward nor looking entirely outward feels sufficient. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between what the Buddha said and what the Baru said, right at that blurry boundary. 1948, Los Angeles. The war has just ended and the world is rebuilding itself. American psychologist Bertram Forer administers a personality test to his university students. A few days later, he distributes what he tells them is a carefully prepared, personalized personality analysis to each one. The students read the text carefully and rate how accurate they find it. An average of 4.26 out of 5, an almost perfect hit. But there was a trap. Forer had given everyone the same text. He had combined a few randomly selected sentences from a newspaper's astrology column. At times you are extroverted, but at other times you become introverted. You can be critical of yourself. You have a great deal of unused potential. You value independent thinking. They all seemed true. They all felt personal. But in reality, none of them were specific to you. They fit everyone. Everyone saw their own portrait. No one knew that everyone else had received the same page. Because the human brain cannot tolerate ambiguity. When it confronts a vague sentence, it unconsciously molds it to fit itself. This is called the Barnum effect. Named after circus impresario P.T. Barnum's saying, "We have something for everyone." The brain does not see gaps. When it encounters an ambiguous statement, it automatically fills it with its own memories, fears, and hopes. It is not actually writing the sentence, your brain is writing it, not a mirror, but a projection. This experiment explains why modern astrology continues to captivate billions of people. But it also sheds light on a much older question. Why were Babylon's Baru priests taken seriously for 1,000 years? Why did Egyptians believe the decans shaped their lives? Why did a Roman emperor never let his astrologer leave the palace? Why do millions of people still read their horoscope every morning? Today, astrology apps constitute an industry worth billions of dollars. CoStar, The Pattern, Sanctuary, digital astrologers live inside your phone. The young generation of the 2020s, feeling distanced from organized religion, clings to astrology because it offers them an identity, a language, a community. Saying, "I'm a Scorpio," is not just stating a zodiac sign. It is a personality declaration, a statement of belonging. The chain stretching from Babylon's clay tablets to Instagram has not broken, it has only changed form.
The answer was perhaps always the same. Humans are meaning-seeking creatures. The sky is orderly and mesmerizing. Life, on the other hand, is chaotic and frightening. To connect the two, to believe that the movements of stars affect your life, is to turn chaos into order, to find a pattern in randomness, to feel in a universe you cannot control that at the very least you understand it. And this is humanity's deepest-seated need. For thousands of years, on every continent, civilizations unaware of each other did the same thing. They raised their heads to the sky and searched for meaning there. Babylon saw order. Egypt saw eternity. Greece saw reason. India saw action. China saw justice. Buddhism saw illusion. Zoroastrianism saw war. Rome saw power. And modern psychology saw the same human need beneath them all. The sky never lies. Maybe. But even if it did lie, people would keep listening, because what matters is not what the sky says, it is what people want to hear. And perhaps this is the inevitable consequence of being a meaning-seeking species, or its gift. Perhaps this is our most human quality, to search for a pattern in the midst of chaos, to hear a whisper in the silence, to find a map in the dark. Whether or not the stars are truly speaking, humans will continue to listen, because to listen is to hope, and a species that hopes never stops raising its head and looking up.
The real question was never, do the stars determine fate? It was never about the sky at all. The real question was this: are we afraid there is no answer, or afraid there is one? We are not the first to ask this question, and we will not be the last. The sky is waiting. It has always been waiting.